Alright man, you know I had to do it again. Coming fresh off that 20 superpowers we didn't know people actually had. Here we go with 5 superpowers we personally didn't know that we had. So apparently everybody has these 5 superpowers.
Hey everybody, it's Mikey Chen. Now we all want superpowers. I actually think it would be really awesome if somehow we were all evolving into mutants, not like deformed people, but like, you know, like the X-Men. And eventually our own unique superpowers would just come out. You know, if that does happen, I think there would be a lot less crime in the world because you don't know what powers other people possess. I mean, imagine if a mugger tries to mug a little old lady, but then the lady shoots lasers out of her eyes and goes all Cyclops on the mugger. So yeah, in a world like that, you would think twice before committing a crime. But here's a question. What if we already do possess superpowers and we just don't know it? Number 1, super strength.
I've heard about that one.
Super strength or hysterical strength is a display of crazy abnormal strength when people are in
do not try any of this stuff, you guys, out of nowhere.
Although many of these cases were documented, super strength is not recognized by science, mainly due to the fact that, well, it's called super strength and it's kind of hard to gather evidence on this stuff because they happen without warning and the researchers can't just point the gun at someone and tell them to go lift a car. Like I said, there are many documented cases of super strength. For example, in 2006 in Tucson, Arizona, Tim Boyle watched as a Chevrolet Camaro hit 18-year-old Kyle Holtrust. The car pinned Holtrust still alive underneath. Boyle ran to the scene of the accident and lifted the Camaro off the teenager while the driver of the car pulled him to safety. And if you're thinking, okay, maybe Tim Boyle goes to the gym a lot and he lifts a lot of weight, so he could probably lift the car. Well, check this out. In 1982, in Lawrenceville, Georgia, Angela Cavallo lifted a 1964 Chevy Impala from her son Tony after it
she's stronger than me,
the jacks that had held it up while he was working underneath the car. Angela lifted the car high enough and long enough for 2 neighbors to replace the jacks and pull Tony from beneath the car. And just so you know, a 1964 Chevy Impala is at least 3,500 pounds. And finally, Marie Bootsy Payton was cutting her lawn in Highland, Texas, when her riding lawnmower got away from her. Peyton's young granddaughter Evie tried to stop the mower but was knocked underneath the still running machine. Peyton ran to the lawnmower and easily tossed it off her granddaughter, limiting Evie's injuries to 4 severed toes, which could have been a lot worse. Peyton herself was curious as how she accomplished this, so she tried lifting the mower again after the incident and she couldn't even move it. Scientists believe the extra strength comes from adrenaline that is pumped into the body when the region of the brain called the hypothalamus is stimulated. But of course, they are not completely sure that this is the cause of this phenomenon. Number 2, echolocation. When a bat flies through the air, it rapidly emits a series of high-pitched clicks, as many as 200 per second. The clicks are far higher in pitch than the human ear can hear, but the bats can hear them easily. By analyzing the way the sound bounces off objects in their surroundings and following cues in the volume, direction, and speed at which these sounds return, bats can effectively see in the pitch black darkness. But did you know that humans, both sighted and vision impaired, are capable of something similar? And sometimes they even taught themselves this ability naturally. For example, Daniel Kish was blind from infancy due to retinal cancer. He learned as a young boy to judge his height while climbing trees by making rapid clicking noises and listening for their echoes off the ground. No one taught him the technique, he just started using it. He's gotten so good at it, one of his favorite things to do is go mountain biking. And did you know that you don't have to be visually impaired to be able to use echolocation? Even an hour or so of practice can provide immediate results. But of course, if you want to become an expert, it would take years of practice. But the good thing is, yes, you can actually train and become Daredevil. Number 3, body temperature control. Imagine the ability to control your own body temperature. And I'm not just talking about maybe going out on a chilly autumn day and not wearing a jacket. I'm talking about having the ability to raise your body temperature so much you can actually dry sheets soaked in freezing water in a frigid room. In a monastery in northern India, Tibetan monks entered into a state of deep meditation in a cold 40-degree Fahrenheit room while 3 by 6 foot sheets soaked in cold water are wrapped around them. Soon, steam began rising from the sheets and the sheets dried in about an hour. Herbert Benson, an associate professor of medicine at the Harvard Medical School, visited remote monasteries in the 1980s. Benson and his team studied monks living in the Himalayan mountains who could, through meditation, raise the temperature of their fingers and toes by as much as 17 degrees. The monks could also lower their metabolism by 64%. To put that in perspective, metabolism, or oxygen consumption, drops only 10 to 15% during sleep. They also documented monks spending the night outside, and keep in mind, this is in the Himalayas, 15,000 feet high in February, when temperatures reached 0 degrees Fahrenheit, wearing only woolen or cotton shawls. The monks fell asleep immediately, and then in the morning just woke up and walked back to the monastery like they just spent the night at the Ritz-Carlton. If I had this power, first of all, it'd be a lot easier doing my laundry because I would never have to use a dryer. You know what else I would do? I would just go walk around Antarctica for no reason. Just walk around in a Superman shirt. And if anyone asks me what the heck I'm doing, I'll just tell them I got locked out from the Fortress of Solitude. Number 4, the ability to not
This guy low-key funny as hell,
This power is really useful, especially when you give yourself a paper cut,
sarcastic
hog your bike, getting tortured for information by the mob. I mean, wouldn't it be great just be able to not feel pain whenever you want? Well, that may be possible because, as they say, pain is just a state of mind. First of all, the body already contains morphine-like substances called endorphins, which is released into the body during exercise, excitement, and when you hurt yourself. And it has the power to dull or completely eliminate pain by coating the receiving end of the synapses in the brain that would otherwise receive pain signals from the rest of the body. There are also many cases where people are able to control the amount of pain they feel on command. Professional hypnotherapist and psychotherapist Alex Lenkai hypnotized himself before his hand surgery so he could skip the anesthetic, says he was fully awake and pain-free during the 83-minute procedure. Lenkai says anesthetic has gotten him nauseous before, and he just feels avoiding it is healthier than using it, in part because it takes a while to get it out of your system. He told the early show co-anchor Maggie Rodriguez that doctors were using a chisel hammer to basically break a sort of walnut-sized bone in the hand to take it out. They also used small medical saw to attach tendon to the thumb. He said he didn't feel anything at all, just very deep relaxation. I also remember that my psychology professor in college used to do this as well. Every time he would go to the dentist, he would ask him how long the procedure was and just put himself under hypnosis for that amount of time. True story. So like I mentioned before, if my professor was ever being tortured by the mob, he could be like, hey guys, so how long you intend to torture me for? Oh, 48 hours? Okay. Thanks for the heads up. But he probably wouldn't feel that good after he comes out of hypnosis. And this technique is also really useful if you ever take your kids to a Justin Bieber concert. And finally, number 5, time manipulation. So yeah, this is what Neo did in The Matrix, or time stalling for those of you who ever watched the show Time Treks, which is awesome. Oh, and Max Payne calls this bullet time. Basically, in moments of extreme duress, such as that which police officers experience during a shooting, human perception alters radically. Over a period of 5 years, a researcher named Alexis Artwell gave hundreds of police officers a written survey to fill out about their shooting experiences. What's really interesting is that virtually all of the officers reported experiencing at least one major perceptual distortion. For some, time moved in slow motion. For others, it sped up. One cop wrote that during a violent shootout, I looked over and was puzzled to see beer cans slowly floating through the air past my face. What was even more puzzling was that they had the word federal printed on the bottom. They turned out to be the shell casings ejected by the officer who was firing next to me. Researchers say this phenomenon happens because your brain has 2 modes of experiencing the world: rational and experiential. The first one is calm and of course rational, but if someone all of a sudden show up in front of you with a gun, you'll suddenly be in the experiential mode. Your brain goes into a kind of overdrive, bypassing normal processes in favor of hair-trigger decision-making. Most normal thinking processes are scrapped, and suddenly you are operating on instinct. And because you're processing information faster, the world seems to be moving slow.
What are you guys' thoughts on this, man? 5 superpowers you didn't know you had. I was more surprised at the time, the very last one in my opinion. There was 2 of them actually that I've already known before from prior experience. Not that me, I just knew, I heard it from the news and all that stuff and had people went through that situation. But yeah, comment down below what reactions you want me to do next. Flight team, peace.